Hello, my radiant loves. It's Sonia G talking about the solstice today. We have a powerful solstice coming up. Welcome to Starborn Leaders. We just had an extraordinary experience, and I realized some things that I want to share with you, all of you on the Instagram community. So every solstice is an opportunity for a rebirth. Every solstice is a moment where there's a shift of energy with the solar and the lunar energy and the earth energy. It's a point in the earth's axis and all of the alignments of the way that the earth and the sun and the moon align, where we have an opportunity to receive a higher level of solar intelligence, cosmic knowledge, return of the light codes, the solar divine feminine, the solar divine masculine, the wholeness of who we are into our own being. The sun rays, the sunlight carries information a lot through our eyes. It gets taken in through our whole selves. It resonates in the depth of our bone. What is sunlight? What is the sun? The sun is flame. The sun is fire, but it is a fire that doesn't burn. It is a flame of intelligence. It is the source of all of the codes that allow us to create life on the planet, or for life to grow, right? It's the intelligence of this life. When we align and bring ourselves into an experience, a conscious experience, a conscious ceremony in these moments, and at the times when the cosmos, when the intelligence of the sun, right? This is also the Ra Sophia lineage, the feminine solar recalibration of consciousness that is coming in the pure thresholds and timelines and purity of codes of this lineage, not in the tainted stories that have been told. You know this, not in like the archetypal knowledge, but in the fullness of expression. Hold on. We're in a new spot today, so there's like some things here. Okay, so what do I want to tell you about this? It's always about showing up. Nothing about the solstice is just another ritual to be performed or a ceremony to be upheld or a thing that has become a norm that we get together and we do a thing and it's about the sun. If you don't put your heart into it, you're going to miss this solstice. This solstice is very special, and in real time, this is tomorrow, okay? So we're talking about the June solstice, 2026. This is a moment of rebirth of the wholeness of who we are, because finally, the grids on the planet are ready, which means the consciousness of the planet is ready to land in a fuller, higher, sustained, coherent, and harmonious way on the planet in the fullness of who we are. So all the parts of us, all of the parts of who we are in time, through space, planes of existences, okay, through the linear time, in multidimensional time, in planes of existences, all of the parts of who we are get to be blossomed, get to be reunited and rebirthed in a higher level of coherence, in a higher level of beingness on the planet. And not only that, but landed, supported, held from the planetary grid works. And this is an extraordinary thing. You can see me smiling so big because we've been missing a supportive grid work in our reality. We've been missing having a support system, a broadcast system, a landing system in the grid works of our reality that supports the fullness of the divine self that we are embodying and that we are becoming. So what does it feel like? It just feels more like you're not expanded in the network. It feels more like, I don't know, maybe lonely, maybe misunderstood, maybe there's a level of disassociation. There's been more challenges because honestly, it's a few things that have been happening, but some of the grids of our reality, reality is all just a bunch of grids. It's all, it really is. And it's about where we land and what we're working with, right? And the experience that we're having in the moment. But a lot of the grids got infiltrated. A lot of people started getting on the new earth grids, all the new earth movements, and a lot of newly awakened souls brought a lot of stuff on got a lot of stuff on our grids. I'm going to say it on the grids of more ascended beings, more ascended spirits, and it got overloaded. And so a lot of us disconnected. We disconnected from these grids, and grids take a while to create, right? In mastery, we have to be very intentional in the consciousness and the environment, like our earth environment, has to be supportive for us to be able to land it. Grids can land when there's an anchor, there's a place to anchor them. There's either some kind of cosmic event or some kind of consciousness threshold that is passed that allows us to anchor and ground and make real a new reality on the planet. That translates to a new version of who we are, a fuller self-expression, stepping into the next identity, into the next version, into the spiritual master who's also a joyfully expansive, worldly being, the version of you, right, that can reconcile all of the parts, that can show up in the next level leadership without sacrificing any parts of the self. The version of you that can operate, I say run, but can start, operate, be an entrepreneur in a successful business without sacrificing family, without feeling anxiety, without living in stress, without showing up one way on the internet and then another one in real life, right? All of those things are outdated. They don't belong in the new harmonic grids. They're harmonic grids for that reason. Life gets to be harmonious. So everything that is not the embodiment of who we are becoming, it gets to be in older resonances and deeper than the examples that I gave you, right? Today in the Rebirth of Wholeness, which is a 4-part experience for this solstice specifically that I invite you all to register for and to come and experience the transformation that we're moving through. Today we had a fire ceremony at home, safely, of all of the fire things here. And we really looked at the layers of identity that we've held contracted in a version, for example, of success, in a version of leadership that no longer resonates, in a version of leadership or a version of success that maybe fit a couple of years ago, maybe longer. Sometimes we get these, because we're here on creation, we're here on the mission to bring more into being. When we imagine things, when we create and we bring something into life, we're bringing something new, something that didn't exist before. And sometimes those thought forms, those energetic creations, they get outdated and we don't realize it because it's like our baby. It's something that we created, something that we birthed. And those versions get to be outdated. We don't realize it. We are still conforming to our own created ideas, to our own definitions of what success is, to the version of us that played into whatever kept us safe or comfortable or fill in the dots, right? And so there's deeper layers to always, like, that keep us complacent, that keep us somehow hiding or playing small, or showing up in ways that are no longer aligned, showing up, growing in ways that are no longer aligned, going after success or expansion or love or money or health in ways that are simply no longer aligned. They no longer are sustainable, no longer feel good, no longer align with the core of who we are. And so a lot of these things, because we set those parameters in aligned ways, in beautiful ways, that doesn't mean that they're wrong. It just means that they no longer fit. We've outgrow identities. We outgrow realities, right? And so there's ideas, just like we all have understood that, perfectionism doesn't serve. Now there's other layers. There's other layers of identity, layers that have kept us prisoners of, prisoners of our own conscious creations and outdated creations of reality and meaning that we've associated to our reality, that sometimes we have to go clean up. It's like deep cleaning time. Now, that doesn't mean it has to be this like torturous thing. I like to look at these things in fun and in joy and in the beauty of the blossoming and of becoming. But we do get to acknowledge the parts of us that safely hid, that chose to fragment in order to belong, maybe to associate, to, these are also patterns that they're just kind of growing from survival patterns, right? Adapting in order to survive. That's not a thing. Then we hide or fragment ourselves in order to belong. It's like the same pattern camouflaged in, a new skin. We always get to evolve through them. We want to feel safe in the fullness of who we are, exploring everything that is possible for that version of ourselves that is all inclusive of the inner child, of the higher self, of the divine consciousness, the divine human, of the leadership, of the family person, of the partner, right? All of the ways that we show up, we get to be all inclusive and really rebirth into life in a coherent, harmonious way that feels supportive and sustaining and life-giving and prosperous. We don't get to minus parts of ourselves or hold ourselves small or keep hiding or keep telling ourselves the same stories that were good 2, 3, 4 years ago. And a lot of the patterns that we're releasing now, they really were born in 2020 when we had a lot of inwards time, a lot of time to actually create from our spirituality to emerge in a new version of ourselves. And a lot of those were set then, and now, they need a little dusting. They need a little more emergence. I want to say a little more light, but it's a lot more flame, right? They need a level of showing up that we can only do now because we've remembered so much. Now we actually get to express in the fullness of who we've remembered ourselves to be. We know our past lives. We know lots of our lineages of galactic origin. We know what our spiritual gifts are for the most part. Now, how do we become an embodied version of a spiritual divine master of the beautiful, infinite, extraordinary being that we are, inclusive of all the versions of ourselves that we want to express, that we want to bring together without sacrificing any part, which means there's harmony and there's joy. And there isn't anxiety, and there is no stress, and there is no dis-ease, and there is no dysfunction. And there's none of these things behind the scenes that we keep, in a closet. This is something that I see a lot on the internet. It's people operating in ways and now coming out with the stories of burnout and the stories of anxiety and depression behind the scenes. This is not what we want to do. There's no version of becoming harmonious that requires a sacrifice of parts of who we are. this is not the point. We want to create a way of expressing ourselves in leadership, in wholeness, in likely some kind of entrepreneurship, but also just in anywhere that you are in a career position, in a job position. We want to express ourselves in wholeness, in a way that feels supportive, in a way that feels aligned, in a way that feels life-giving. Otherwise, why are we doing it? And if there's any part of you that's still operating from survival, right, this has to shift. Like, this is the time, like, this has to shift in order to ground into the new grids, period, the end, right? Like, this is the time, the solstice is a rebirth time. We get to crown ourselves with the fullness of who we are. We get to operate in higher harmonic with the sun and with the divine life force that is the flame, the eternal flame of who we are, of our soul, the fullness of who we are. So clearing everything else away, clearing the distortions, clearing the distortions that we now understand to be distortions. It's not difficult. It's just knowing how to dig, knowing how to do it, and then actually showing up to do it and meaning to do it. Not just doing it as a performance, not just performing a ritual or a ceremony because this is the thing to do on a solstice, but when you show up full-heartedly and you mean it and you're ready to shift and you really are wanting something better for yourself because you know that your time is now and you know that you're ready to operate from divine coherence, from the fullness of who you are, come and join me inside of the Rebirth of Wholeness. It's extraordinary. We are in the middle of transformation, transfiguration. We're supported by flame. We're supported by the harmonic grids. We're actually creating and weaving in these harmonic grids where money and cash flow get to operate differently, where love gets to be higher infused, it gets to be higher divine love. Relationships get to work differently. Partnerships get to work differently. The way that we understand entrepreneurship gets to work differently. It gets to work more harmoniously and joyfully and in alignment, releasing burdens of outdated identities and outdated ways of creating and whatever other stories, right? Because we always tell ourselves like lots of stories. So this is what this solstice is. It's an appointment in time where the future meets the present. It really is, because we are creating the new grids, and it is a feeling of, it's a co-weaving of everything that is harmonious, of the codes, the higher codes of consciousness. If you're ready to pick them up as they come through from the sun and anchor them into the earth and anchor them into harmonic grids, into ways of life that support you, then from that moment, because this is a time where we can do it with the earth's axis and with the solar rays, with the tilt of the earth, everything gets to be, this is why this moment was so special in time, right, through ancient history, because there's a very precious window where we actually get the fullness of the sun coding and the sun stories and the sun memories, and we get to integrate it and we get to be rebirthed, not just by ourselves. We can do this by ourselves anytime, but with the wholeness and the intelligence of the sun, the moon, and the earth consciousness. And right now, the planetary grids are rebirthing, like inner earth is in ceremony. It is beautiful. If you go check it out, if you go check out inner earth experience, the elemental realms that are rebirthing are extraordinary, which means the earth's grids are preparing to hold more consciousness, to hold higher consciousness, to hold higher operating frameworks that are in coherence on the planetary grids. And this means liftoff for those of us that are like stepping into the next era of leadership, taking liftoff. It's amazing. It's an extraordinary feeling. And no matter how hard this last year was, I know it was for many, or refining, right? Or maybe it was hard in ways that you don't even want to admit that you want to label hard, because to the world, it wouldn't show up as hard. So there's a lot of us that have been hiding different things because it's like, these are not first world problems, right? And so it's like, this is, but they are challenges that we get to move through, and we get to break through, and we get to elevate ourselves through, and whichever thing is real for you. This is the time to transcend it. This is the time to elevate yourself beyond it. This is the time to choose again. This is the time to remember the wholeness of who you are and stop fragmenting yourself or showing up in fragments, in parts of identities, and lying to yourself, saying it's the wholeness of who you are, when really you're just bringing parts forward, right? Do you see the difference? It's time for all of us. We've all done it. I've done it. We've all done it. But it's time to really become the fullness of who we are, of speaking from an embodied divine layer of self, from the depth of our past lives in Egypt, the knowledge that we buried in Atlantis, the divine inheritance that comes through our lineages to Lyra, to Orion, to the different star systems. It's time that all of it comes in coherence, and we express that from the joy of our inner child in this lifetime, from the level of coherence of the beautiful adult that we've become, from the next level knowing of our future self that gets to be born right now, that is hanging out, waiting to be birthed in who we are, right? So there's a joy in blossoming in full self-expression. And this is what the solstice is about. So if it calls you, and if you feel like you're ready for this transformation, which really is a transfiguration, because it's all of the systems of the body get to transfigure, which means shift form. We get to really be in alchemical transmutation of ourselves, of our body, of our mind, of our heart, of the echoes of the experiences that we've had and our physical body. And we get to be rebirthed through our own self, through the fullness of our heart, the fullness of our being, in wholeness, in coherence, in divine harmony of the feminine and the masculine, no longer fragmented, no longer just associated to the whole, but not harmonic self-union, right? We get to be full and united in who we are first, in all of the ways that you hold yourself. So this is the invitation to register to the rebirth of wholeness at this solstice, at this solar threshold. It's beautiful, and it's the rebirth of you that I know deep inside. I feel like you've been waiting for, and you haven't quite known where to look, but you know something is coming. Something is coming because you feel it coming, and you've remembered enough to know that it's coming, and all of your tingly senses know that there's something, that you're at the threshold, at the precipice of something. And when that happens, the key is to seize the moment, to actually next level yourself, to shift into the threshold, especially when it's uncomfortable, right? We get to show up. It's no longer observing when the phenomenon gets to happen. It's participating in the fabric of reality in order to bring things into the physical manifestation of form, to bring the unknown into the known, right? To bring everything into being, which translates to relationships, health, bank account, all of the things that are physical. Everything starts spiritually first. Everything starts in our soul and in our spirit first, and then it translates into our physical experience. So when spiritually you are whole, when your soul is safe to be seen, to be in the magnitude of who you are, when your spirit can radiate in wholeness, everything else follows. But when you're just doing the human part and you're running, keeping your company, your job, your family, and you're just running on the front end, but your soul is not filled, your spirit isn't lit, it's not alive, it's not vibrating, it's not in the fullness of who you are, it's not at the threshold of becoming, you're not feeling alive on the inside. When that's not true, this stuff doesn't work out. This stuff feels like burning out. It feels like effort, right? It can look the same on the outside because you can look successful. You can look like you have it all figured out. right? Like an influencer of the Instagram or whatever it is. But on the inside, or a successful entrepreneur, and, all of these, there's so many very successful stories now that are going around, which is a great thing. However, notice that everyone now is starting to look at their inner self, higher self, spiritual self work, because none of this on the front end really matters ultimately. You find yourself that you don't enjoy the physical life, right? That you don't enjoy certain things to the fullness. It's because your spirit isn't home. Your soul is not home in the body. You're not actually vibrating in the fullness and the depth of who you are. So superficial things just don't do it, right? And then it ends up being stress, anxiety, because we're sacrificing parts of who we are. So we're dislocated. That never works. You want to be having all of the spiritual things, all the spiritual transformation and the worldly success, right? And the relationships, the travels, the bank account, the prosperity, the cash flow, all of these things, the health. We want to have it all, but truly all, not just front facing all, also soul level and spiritual level all. And this is the work. This is where you get to have the relationship, have the extraordinary health, have the cash flow, and enjoy it. And remember the fullness of who you are and the embodiment of who you are. You get to create the new earth that you came for, truly, the celestial, Edenic new earth that you came for, not the outdated new age, new earth versions that, are whatever. They're not it. We'll just say they're not it. We know this. So these are the times that you get to show up and you get to have it all. You really do. And it's moments like this that make all the difference. So if you feel like coming and being a part of it, register for it. It'll be available for the next week. It's called Return to Wholeness. And it's a 4-part experience that will leave you DNA activated at the core of your soul in a vibrant, alive, and manifested into the physical kind of way, where your new identity will be who you are. It's not just an idea. It's an embodied expression of the fullness who you are, with all of the remembering and with all of the becoming work that you've been doing. So I love you. Go and check it out. It's at Starborn Leaders. And then those of you that feel called to a little extra next level special experience, another solar threshold in Spain, we're going to Mallorca. And I believe at this point, I only have 3 spots left. So if it calls you, message me, let me know, and we'll see if it's for you. Okay, it's an August sacred adventure where we're going to Mallorca. Okay, I love you. Happy solstice. Become the version of you you were always meant to be, which is the whole version of you, the fullness of who you are. I believe in you.